Thinking back to those days, laying in your nice warm bed, mindlessly dreaming. All of a sudden, it's 6 a.m. Your alarm clock is buzzing, making that awful, dreadful sound, meaning it's the start of another day of school. Haven't we all wondered, what would it be like to be homeschooled? I could get up when I wanted to. I could even go to school in my pajamas. Wouldn't that be the life? I am here today to tell you about the pros and cons of homeschooling. I'm qualified to speak on this subject because I myself was homeschooled. I have first-hand experience on this, and I've also done extensive research on this topic. I'm going to inform you about how homeschooling can be altered to fit your family's needs, build stronger relationships, can be very time-consuming, and can often lead to excessive interactions. Many people believe that homeschooling is good for children. My first point, by TBS's staff's article, Homeschooling, which module is right for you? It is that homeschool can be altered to fit your needs. There are many different options. There's options that include firm, strict schedules, and there's options that are work at your own pace. But in the end, the decision is up to you and your family needs. And when we talk about time in homeschool students only use an average of 2 to 3 hours a day on their homeschooling. Because of this, when my dad was offshore, he worked 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. In my homeschooling, I would work 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. I would work really hard for 2 weeks, and then I would take a 2-week break and just spend time with my family. My second pro is by Matthew Lynch's article, The Advantages and Limitations of Homeschooling. It is that homeschooling can build better relationships between parents and children. Homeschooling has many different opportunities to spend with your children, such as going to the park for recess or baking cookies together on a break. Basically, homeschooling allows endless opportunities for activities to connect with your kid. You just have to set those activities. Here's a testimony from a mother of 2 homeschooled children, how she taught through real-life activities. When I sat down with this mother, she told me about how her family loves to travel, so that she would map out her travels to what the kids were learning. They would go to museums, landmarks, anything to keep the kids interacted and educated at the same time. She also told me that homeschooling is very rewarding. That it was like for her when she taught her kids how to talk or how to take their first steps. When she taught her kids how to read and write, it was the same thing. On the other hand, some people believe that homeschooling is not good for children. My third point is by Brian Ray's Pros and Cons of Homeschooling for Students Disrupted During COVID-19. And it's that parents must be fully committed to the decision. They must be ready for the role of parent and teacher. On a survey done by Rosalind Sword, over 2,000 parents who had freshly become homeschool teachers during the pandemic. 39% of these parents could no longer find time for themselves, thus making their workday seem so much longer. While another 36% of these parents found that they had increased stress and anxiety levels. Now here's an example for you. Remember back sitting at your dining room table. Your parents are helping you with your math homework. How do you feel? Are you stressed? Are you getting yelled at because you don't know your times tables? Are they saying, why are you crying? This is easy. How do you feel now? Now think, this is just one example of a parent taking on the role of a teacher. In homeschool, the parent is the teacher, 24/7. My last point is that homeschooling can lead to excessive interactions. This is another example by Matthew Lynch and his article, Advantages and Limitations of Homeschooling. That when you spend 24/7 with one person, that it gets hard, and the children can feel trapped. When I was homeschooled, I spent so much time with my family that we all became super stressed and got in a lot of arguments. Sometimes between siblings and I, my mother and I, sometimes all of us. Can you imagine the stress in that house? It was to the max. Here's a testimony from an 18-year-old homeschool student over spending too much time together. She informed me that her and her sister were homeschooled together. Normal siblings fight, but homeschool amplified their fighting because they were always together. They even shared the same room together. Their fighting became 24/7, mostly because they never got a break from each other. In conclusion, by informing you of how homeschool can be altered to fit your family's needs, build stronger relationships, but can lead to excessive interactions, damaging relationships, and how time-consuming it can be for a parent, I hope that you understand these pros and cons of homeschooling. Here's a question for you. Do you still wish you could have been homeschooled? That answer is up to you.